As you know, for over 8 years now, the UN maintains a database of businesses involved in specific activities in the occupied Palestinian territories. And my question specifically is, I followed this up with a number of questions, and my question specifically is the timeline for the NTMA to fully divest from all Ireland's strategic investment global portfolio investments on that list of the UN, the details of the ISIF's direct investments in the company on that list, and the details of the indirect investment.
Thank you, Deputy. The Ireland Strategic Investment Fund is a €15 billion fund comprising of the discretionary portfolio of €8.4 billion and the directed portfolio of €6.2 billion. It has a double bottom line mandate to invest on a commercial basis in a manner designed to support economic activity and employment in Ireland. According to the most recent NTMA annual report, from inception to the end of 2023, ISIF generated an annualised investment return of 3.1% of over €2.3 billion in investment returns across its portfolio, affecting and supporting 42,454 jobs in the economy. ISIF has complete independence in implementing its investment strategy under the NTMA Acts, under an investment committee reporting to the board. The UN does indeed maintain a database of businesses involved in certain specific activities relating to settlements in the occupied Palestinian territories. It was developed in 2020 with an update in 2023. At the end of 2023, direct investments by the Ireland Strategic Investment Fund in companies on the UN database were approximately €4.2 million in 11 companies, and their indirect investment, including 8 companies, was €9.4 million. ISIF has divested from 6 of these companies with a total value of approximately €2.95 million across 2024. The 6 companies were Bank Hapoalim BM, Bank Luminum Israel BM, the Israel Discount Bank Limited, Missouri Tafut Bank Limited, First International Bank Limited, and Rami Levy Chain Stores Limited. At the time, ISIF determined that the risk profile of these investments was no longer within its investment parameters. The level of holdings at the end of December in relation to companies on the UN list was €4.2 million in 11 companies.
Thank you, Minister. It's difficult now. I look at those figures and I appreciate your answer. However, none of this has come, and I respect the NTMA and the subgroup that works. And I was on the Public Accounts Committee, and I remember the proactive approach in relation to divestment of fossil fuels, and Deputy Thomas Pringle, he's gone now, his bill. So I welcome that, but it wasn't proactive. And they certainly grasped the mettle when it came. And in relation to this, you've listed out the Israeli banks and a retail chain. And it's welcome that we've divested from that. But we're still investing in the overall scheme. I know it's a small amount of money, but we're still investing in companies, banks that have activities illegal in territories that are illegally occupied. So I want to know the timeline for when we're going to divest directly and indirect investment from those companies, given our stance on Palestine.
Thank you, Deputy, and thank you also actually for recognising the work that the NTMA have done in this and other areas, and in particular the work that ISIF have done, and I know you are familiar with that. I have outlined to you the divestment that has taken place. It is important for me to emphasise to you that the operational independence of ISIF is very, very important to this state. They manage now €15 billion of our money that is invested in jobs in Ireland and contributes to the economic growth and development of our country at a time in which we will need new sources of economic investment and growth. They do operate independently of me. They're well aware of the sensitivity and importance of the investments that you are referring to, and indeed the questions that are being put to me. I would respectfully make the case to you that you've already acknowledged that these investments as a share of ISAF's total portfolio, not to mention as a share of the investment in the overall Israeli economy, are extremely small. But I know you are raising issues of principle, and of course I am aware of the correct, deep concern that the Irish people have regarding the suffering of the people of Gaza.
Well, in a previous answer, I was told by the Minister for Finance, my officials are in contact with the NTMA on a regular and ongoing basis, including issues arising from the Israeli Settlements Divestment Bill. So I fully understand they're independent, but there's a policy issue here in relation to illegal occupation, a country committing genocide, and we investing in companies that are trading. You'd admit that, and I know you accept that. And we still have a sizable proportion, not in the overall scheme, but a sizable proportion of investment, direct and indirect, comes to over 10 million. And just to bring home and put the focus on what we're talking about, the supply of surveillance and identification equipment for settlements, the wall and checkpoints directly linked with settlements, the supply of equipment and materials facilitating the construction and the expansion of settlements, and a whole list. These are the list drawn up by the UN over 8 years ago to say we should not be investing in those companies. So when you make the case that it's a small percentage, I appreciate that, but it is huge morally, not to mention the genocide that's taken place.
So thank you, Deputy, for raising this. And while I do make the case that as a share of the overall portfolio of ISAF, it is a small share of their investment portfolio, at the same time, millions of euro is a lot of money, and a lot of money for you and me. And I accept that point. You do raise very, very important foreign policy and human rights issues. Yes, my department do engage with ISAF and with the NTMA on these and other matters, and the concerns and issues that you have raised are very well understood. You did make reference to issues of policy. I do have to just emphasise again to you that given the scale of the portfolio that ISAF manage and how much of our money they manage overall, it is really important that I respect and support the independence of the board and the decisions they've made. Divestments have already taken place, and the ISAF board will determine what is the right investment in a way that is consistent with their independence and the mandate that they have. And they are well aware of the issues that you're raising and the exchange that you and I have had on a regular basis on this.